Welcome everyone, Adam the Woo here, just listening to the soothing sounds of I-4, going over that shoulder. Today's adventure begins in downtown Orlando. We'll be traversing around the entire area within a few miles of where I'm standing to former venues, music establishments that I frequented on a, maybe not daily, but at least a weekly basis between 1992, 95, 96. That is the era I am going to be chiming in and talking about my memories of. I was really into, my family moved here in 1991. I was 17 years old. I got my first car. I started driving, and the world was my oyster. Started going to seeing a lot of live music. First, the rock genre, listened to the radio, and then I discovered a little bit of the underground scene. Like a lot of people in 1994, punk rock took a hold of my life, and I'm just gonna kind of share some of my thoughts and memories and dive into my past just a little bit around this area. I'm inviting you to join me. Shall you? I guess you could refer to this as a 25-year-old retrospective. It was 25 years ago. It was 95. Well, actually 26 now. Give or take a year. Aces Cafe used to be the Edge. And this parking lot was the Edge concert field. And over there, where it looks to be a tennis court, used to be the Edge shed. Fun fact, in 1995, this was where the very first Warp Tour took place. Warp Tour #1, right here, inside what is now Aces Cafe, the Edge back then. There was one stage and another stage. Well, it wasn't out in the parking lot. There was a skateboarding ramp, and the other stage was back there at the Edge shed. Yeah, just seeing this really brings back a flood of memories. First time I saw Guttermouth was here. Offspring, Pennywise. Right here in a little shed that held just a few hundred people. Punk and Ska Fest was a local tradition in the mid-90s. Wow. Stone Temple Pilots right here in this field. Green Day on the Dookie tour. Pantera had a stage set up right over there. Crowd was here. Good times. The Undertow tour. Tool right inside these walls. Courtney loves Hole. Well, the band Hole. Bad Religion on another occasion. Unwritten Law. Bad Brains. Fun fact about seeing Bad Brains here, I got my wallet stolen. Very next day, I went to the Groove Tube in Indialantic, Florida, and purchased this. This is over a quarter of a century old, this wallet. And it all stemmed of having my previous one stolen right inside here. The stage when it was the concert field. Right there. Saw Soundgarden here as well. The audience. Right there. I was one of them. Prior to doors opening, the line would queue up here on the sidewalk. The parking was over there, what is now the Lynx bus station. And these palm trees are new. There used to be different types of trees here, and I recall at one point, out of boredom, while everyone was kind of waiting for the doors to open, someone climbed the previous tree that was right there and perched himself up in the limbs. It's amazing what you remember, isn't it? It was also right in there where I saw the Mighty Mighty Bosstones for the first time, opening for another band called the Butthole Surfers. It's a real band name. Mighty Mighty Bosstones. It was the Don't Know How to Party tour. Blew my mind. Saw them many, many times after that, but oh my gosh, first impression, incredible. Awesome. It was a little wilder back in those days. NoFX Heavy Petting Zoo tour. I climbed to the second floor rafters inside and dove off. Security grabbed a hold of me, kicked me out, and I just, as they escorted me, I kept stating loudly, "I'm just having fun, just having fun." During one of the events, I can't recall which one, huge congregation of people, everyone elbow to elbow, I had the brainstormed idea to bring along a sheet, and me and a couple friends took the sheet, grabbed a side, and people would sit on the sheet almost like a makeshift trampoline, and we would launch people in the air and then catch them back on the sheet. I even jumped on the sheet. I weighed considerably less. After time, the sheet broke, but I would say maybe a half a dozen to a dozen, maybe more, people got launched in the air on that sheet, up and down, a good 20 feet tall. Yeah, it's all coming back to me now. Kind of ingenious, that sheet idea. In the early 2000s, I started a band and played in quite a few of them. This was kind of the precursor to that. I'm not even really going to mention any of that era. Just wanted to focus on when I first started getting into music and going to shows, just around the mid-90s. Good to see Independent Bar still over there, commonly referred to as iBar, and Planet Pizza still back behind it. Oh yes, this was a late night staple after the shows. Grab yourself a slice. Conveniently located to a couple of venues. Used to be an alley back here. Yeah, there we go. The patio, where there's always a party, used to be called something else, and I saw Bouncing Souls one of the probably 50 times I've seen the Souls over the years. Back there, through those now wooden planks. Kind of near the end down there, what's now the Social, back then was called the Downtown Jazz and Blues Club, and then the Sapphire Supper Club. 64 North was referred to as something else, but iBar saw one of the wildest shows took place in here. It was the Toasters, great ska band, and Murphy's Law. First time seeing Murphy's Law. Holy cow! It went off. I just looked it up. It was technically called Barbarella back then. It was in 1994 on September 15th. The opening acts were Shyster, probably one of the best local punk bands back then. They played and opened on every single show that I can recall, at least probably 90% of them, and Rocket 88. And what is now chairs and stuff in there was just an open floor where everyone was doing a little slam dancing. I picked up a Weezer Blue Album cassette at Wax Tree Records. Never had heard of them, just bought it because of the album cover. And they performed for the first time that I can recall seeing them do a tour for Chainsaw Kittens. They were the opening act. I showed up here, and there, as I was about to pay admission to go in, it was only a few dollars, the person at the door said that Weezer had canceled because the Sweater Song had just about to hit MTV and they were going to do a larger tour, larger venue. So I didn't get to see them inside. Well, I believe it was the Downtown Jazz and Blues Club back then. This place here, been in probably 100 times into this establishment. Just peeking in the front window here, I saw 311 in this tiny place. Reverend Horton Heat. I honestly can't even think of the dozens upon dozens of musical acts I saw on that small stage. Drawing a blank. Goldfinger, Snapcase. There's many more, but putting myself on the spot here. As I get older, I forget a lot of things. One thing I will not forget, however, is the Subway that used to be right there. Subway sandwich shop. That was really about one of the few places, other than the pizza place, behind that you could go get a little snack after the show. I can almost envision my previous younger self standing right here, waiting for the doors to open, as I did many times, right here along this sidewalk. Wow. Heading just a few miles away down Colonial Drive, there was a little place up here that I cannot recall the name of. I don't remember what it was named. Still kinda, sorta looks the same from this side. Parking lot, more or less how it was. I believe now it's a Realtor, the Ambassador Hotel across the road. The show I recall the most was Blue Meanies and Hagfish, both amazing bands. Saw right in here, and quite a handful of others. and one of the multitude of times that I saw Less Than Jake, Florida's own Less Than Jake, in there as well. And AAA, Against All Authority, quite a few times. Great ska band, ska core band. Yes, some flashbacks from my youth. Just kind of relaxing here in this parking lot. Gonna connect with OBT and head up to formerly the Visage nightclub. All right, this one I am more than a little bit hazy on the specifics of, but I do believe it was located at the North Park Commerce Center. Technical address is 6341 North Orange Blossom Trail. And ringing a very mellow and slight bell in my head is the corner of this building, which is now Ortho America. That might have been Visage. It was one of these. Could have been this one, but I am leaning towards this corner here, and I believe there's a bay door where the bands would load their equipment in around the other side. And the name would have been right there on that marquee. Gosh, it's been 25 years. Faintly do recall parking back in this section. Faintly recall that. And yeah, I'm certain that the entry point was right up there. Very first time I ever saw NoFX on the White Trash tour, opening for Fishbone. Right inside there. Just all guesses, but there are some bay doors there. Could have been where the bands loaded their equipment in. And this looks like this has all been remodeled as well. Also saw Clutch for the first time. Sepultura, or Sepultura, depending on how you pronounce it, in here as well. The Lemonheads, Evan Dando, I believe the singer's name was. He performed in there. And the very first non-local concert I ever went to, the first name recognized act that I ever attended in my entire life was at Visage. Radiohead, inside this moderately small place for a band of that caliber. It was a long time ago. It was what was the first album they had? Pablo something? Yeah, it was an amazing show. I just looked it up, and Radiohead was the opening act. Belly was the headliner. It was in 1993, September 24th of 1993. Drove a few miles, 5 or 6, over to Fern Park, next to the Orlando Highlight building, now called the Olay Live Events building. Parking lot is still here. Could hold a few cars, as well as on this side also, which where the load-in doors were. And the front entrance, as I stated, a little hazy. It's back in '94, March of '94. I saw Green Day also on the Dookie tour, about 6 months prior to the Edge concert field. After radio play of Longview, they became instantly popular and played to 3,000 or 4,000 people in that field. But half a year earlier, there was only a couple hundred of us who watched them on the small stage here. Opening act Tilt, Lookout Records, Tilt, later to put an album out on Fat Records. One of many shows that I attended here. It was known as The Station, had some train cars around it. I'm 99% certain this is where it stood, because you could drive around the back, and this tower, I do recall very strongly, you could see peeking over the top of the roof. And right in here, you could see it really was not that big of a place. I would imagine the stage here, the stage kind of ran this way, front door over there, and audience would be here along the back where, you know, the bar, restroom, and then along this side were some more tables, stools where you could sit, chairs, and then back around again to the stage here. Yeah, pretty neat. so long ago, but it almost seems like just yesterday. In fact, this first song they played still stuck in my head. It was Welcome to Paradise. Billy Joe, Mike Dirnt, Trey Cool walked right out from the little backstage area, walked up on the stage. There was no barricade whatsoever. Everyone could just get on stage, jump off, a little stage diving, taking effect. Very intimate, amazing experience to see them before they became the Green Day that everyone knows and loves to this day. Green Day holds a special place in my heart for me. Kerplunk, my favorite album of theirs. Pretty much all the way through Warning. Warning was kind of an interesting departure on their style, but still really enjoyed it. For me, Green Day kind of took a second incarnation at that point going forward. I like the newer stuff, but for me, anything pre-Warning, especially up to Insomniac, I just love so much. In fact, I even have the Kerplunk tattoo there on the arm. I haven't really kept up with a lot of their newer stuff post-Warning. I've heard a few of the albums. It doesn't really grab me in the same way some of the early work did. Saw a lot of other bands I like here. Straight Face was a great Southern California band that I got really into. Saw them here as well on that very same stage. And Collective Soul, not a punk rock band, but a band not from Florida. However, when they first started, there was an Orlando-based radio station that was one of the first ones in the nation to play them, and one of the first concerts they ever did was on that stage right here, and I got to witness it. Collective Soul. The building kind of was where the grass is, and it had an awning that stretched out similar, almost in the fashion to there. It's almost as if the ground and the grass is where the building itself was, with the awning protruding out right there. It's a front door. Just stepped right in. Going in to the station. And then immediately, the stage was right here. Give or take a few feet. Don't hold it against me too much if I'm incorrect. It's the next lot over, but I'm pretty certain that's it. It's been a while, as stated. It's been a heck of a long time, so you know, your thoughts change and fade away over time. Here's a pretty good reference photo. There's that awning I was referring to. That was when it was still standing. Made it a ways back over just off Colonial again, off in the distance. This is Bennett Road, and this building was once Club Nowhere. A facade, well, and an interior that I know very well. On many occasions, I went through this front door. Saw Clutch on tour here also, as well as other places. The Meatmen. Now, Green Day also played here in '93. I did not attend that. That was a few months before I had really even heard of them. But they did also play in there. Also, for a short time in the late '90s, there was a record store in that section. Now used for something else, not a music venue. My fondest recollection would have been the Don't Turn Away face-to-face tour. 94, 95-ish. Fat Records. It was the first album that band had put out on that label. And it was before the internet, before you could just simply look up what a band sounded like, what their music was, listen to songs. But I knew that the label was owned by Fat Mike from NoFX, and because I like them, that I just assumed that most of the music that he was going to be putting out would be something to my liking. So I showed up, I parked in a spot right along here, only a couple of rows here. Got here very early before doors opened. Well, doors had opened, but no one had arrived. Walked in, there was no one here, went to the merch counter, bought a cassette tape. Yes, this is before CDs, face to face, the album on cassette. came back out to my car over here, listened to it at least twice, front and back, maybe 25 minutes long on each side, so for about an hour, listened to all the songs. So I kind of knew what they sounded like. As soon as I put it in, hit play, I thought, oh yes, this is gonna be good. More people showed up throughout the course of the evening. They didn't take the stage, they took the floor. There was no stage. Bands just played on the floor, set their equipment up. History in the making. And I was instantly into that band and saw them many times over the years. A lot of memories in here. That's just one of many that I could share. Club Nowhere, Bennett Road, Orlando. Very narrow corridors, and that wall over there is where the artist would perform. Yeah, a lot of slam dancing taking place right in that little, got very sweaty and exciting, I assure you. Obviously it's been repurposed, and the wall could have been pushed back a little bit. That's might not be the original spot of the wall, but in close proximity. But that's about the size dimensions of what Club Nowhere was. A lot of great bands performed in here, right in this little room. It's amazing how the mind works. Something you haven't thought about in a long time can just pop back in and be very prominent in the thoughts, just from seeing a building and things that happen in and around it, you know, decades ago. You could refer to them as the good old days, but honestly, sometimes when you're living in those times, you don't realize the nostalgia you're going to have after returning to them many years later. A lot of nostalgia. I could kind of go on and on, you know, going a couple years past the time frame I'm designating, but I'm going to stick to, you know, around 93, 94, 95, 96. The last spot is here on Fairbanks Avenue at what was the location of the Fairbanks Inn, and as the locals, those in the scene, called it, the FBI. Has the address written right there on the side, 1788 West Fairbanks Ave. I can write a laundry list of bands that I saw inside this building. Vandals, Buck 09, Earth Crisis, Bouncing Souls, one of the many times I saw the Souls, Agent Orange, Blink 182, back on the Cheshire Cat tour, before Travis joined, back when it was Scott Raynor. In fact, during the Blink 182 show, they were playing the song Undergarments, and the stage was only about a foot tall, and I quote-unquote stage dove during about the middle point of the song and kind of leaped up and did a little crowd surfing. Security grabbed me. It was not allowed in here. You could not stage dive, and I was kicked out of that show. My friend's band, a band by the name of Stizzle, a ska punk band, they opened the show, then Unwritten Law, then Blink. Gosh, so many memories and moments that happened in there. Maybe 100 concerts, 100 shows I went to in there. The Earth Crisis show was pretty funny. From what I remember, the last song, they had run over their allotted set time, and the sound guy turned the sound off. So the entire final song, which I believe was Firestorm, the most popular one, everyone just got on stage and sang along with no amplifiers needed. It was just a large congregation sing-along on stage. Yep, spent a lot of time in this parking lot before and after each show. A lot of time. Also, a few years after that time frame, there was a guy in the scene that opened up his own independent venue in some warehouses back over there behind the Fairbanks Inn. That's a whole other subject matter. In fact, I might at some point go into a part 2 of this, but I really wanted to go delve into the beginning stages of my concert going, getting into the punk rock roots before I was even in a band, even before I even picked up a bass guitar. In the early into the mid 90s, that was this range. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, please subscribe. By doing so, it helps keep you in the loop and update on future uploads here on this channel. If you enjoyed this particular episode and a little bit of history around Orlando, Florida, with the venues that all have been erased from existence, give it a big thumbs up. It lets me know you care. I'll see you in the next video. The vlog is over.